Hello and welcome to Batcast 66. It's a podcast where we watch an episode of the 1966 Batman show and then talk about it. It's been a while. I'm Kendall.
I'm Scott.
Today we're talking about Batman Season 2, Episode 9, or Episode 43 of the series overall. The Greatest Mother of Them All. Originally aired October 5th, 1966, written by Henry Slezar? Slezar? Who
Uh,
knows?
I
And
have no idea how you pronounce his name.
yeah, directed by Oscar Rudolph. And yeah, the greatest mother of them all. That speaks to a new character for the show, Ma Parker. Scott, what's your relationship with Ma Parker?
I mean, this is the only thing I've seen her in. Uh, she was only in this episode, couplet of episodes, and an issue of Batman 66's comic from a few years ago.
Oh,
And then,
interesting. She never comes back.
nope. Which is kind of disappointing because I was kind of dreading going into this episode. I'm like, oh, this sounds like such a boring villain, but this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. And I would love to see her with kind of a rotating cast of,
Of
you know,
children. Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, very Beagle Boys energy.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like this crime boss character, it's kind of a trope in
Yeah,
fiction.
I've seen it a couple of times. I mentioned the Beagle Boys. I think that's the most famous one. I mean, we're from what's known as the DuckTales generation, so that's what I associate with it. But this is very in line with that. But in the original DuckTales comics, the Donald Duck comics, they were just Beagle Boys. Ma wasn't invented, I think, until the cartoon.
Interesting. So I'm sure that character is more based on,
Probably Ma, she, I don't know, maybe even on Ma Parker. I didn't do any
yeah,
research on the
yeah.
DuckTales side, yeah, but
Yeah, so maybe it's less of a trope than we're thinking, and we just happen to grow up with this thing based off this character.
I guess it's fun though.
It is a fun little trope. Oh,
Yeah.
disappointing that she doesn't come back.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed by that too. I was looking forward to her. She's played by Shelley Winters, who seems to be a pretty prolific character actress. Her biggest movie was The Poseidon Adventure,
Oh,
which is a pretty fun old school disaster movie if you guys haven't seen it.
yeah. Kind of infamous. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I know I've read the comic that she'd appeared in from the Batman 66 series, but yeah, I have no.
Yeah, I was reading those as they were coming out and I haven't read them since, and I don't remember her in that.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing how my opinion on that changed because, yeah, it doesn't stick out in my memory one way or another.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of those characters, I don't remember the bookworm issue, but I loved the Batman show version. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. So, yeah, I'm like wondering how those ones are going to change for me after like watching this show.
yeah, I know we've been talking about rereading the comics, maybe doing some episodes on that, and I am very much looking forward to that. Idea
Same.
it gets me more and more excited as we progress farther into the series, and I become a little bit more of a little bit more knowledgeable about Batman 66 as we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we get right into the greatest mother of them all?
Oh yeah, the mother of all episodes.
Here we go. Granted, if I, listeners, was more on top of this, we probably could have had this out for Mother's Day, but
I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, we just missed Mother's Day as of this recording.
yeah,
To be fair, we don't plan the regular Batman 66 episodes around that. We'll usually do something special for a holiday.
yeah, but that's what would have made this especially like,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't really thinking about that, and I've been uh super busy.
Yeah, we've been
Today is the
yeah.
first day this month I've like had nothing to do.
Yeah. We People may have noticed there was a little bit of a gap in the upload, but you and I both this is our was a really busy time of year and we just didn't get a chance to get together.
Yeah.
Looking forward.
All right.
All right,
So,
let's get into episode.
yeah, let's get into it. So we open at the Gotham City Mother of the Year presentation.
Which, how do you qualify or quantify Mother of the Year?
Yeah, it just seems like probably some rich people nonsense.
Yeah, they just want to show off their motherness.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
I did notice that even the people are labeled now because everyone's got like their name on them. I thought that was funny.
It, this season is like really leaning hard into certain tropes.
Yeah,
And I
like
can
this.
see how maybe it goes a little too far.
Uh, yeah, I've got a quote by someone important to Batman next episode that's related to that.
Interesting. All right, I
I'm
look
doing
forward to
something like,
hearing it.
yeah.
So, yeah, they the mother of the year is crowned, and it just happens to be Ma Parker on stage.
Hmm.
Who knows how she set that up for herself? I don't know. But when she comes up to, be inaugurated, whatever, she pulls out a Tommy gun and yells, "Stick 'em up."
Yeah, and I also made a note. I was like, I feel like these are the kinds of villains that the regular cop should be able to handle.
Yeah, well, Ma Parker and her kids, Pretty Boy, Machine Gun, Mad Dog, and Legs.
Yeah. Guess
Uh,
which one's the girl?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
They are like notorious, and I thought this was interesting.
What's that?
So, and we'll jump back to this robbery because it's kind of funny and weird. But yeah, in the next scene we get like Gordon and O'Hara talking about the Parker gang or the Parker family, whatever they're called.
Hmm.
And like I thought this was cool. They are kind of like on this like countrywide crime spree. So these are like known villains, but they've never been in Gotham City. And I
I
thought
did think that was cool because it
yeah,
makes the world feel a little bit bigger.
yeah. It's like, oh, we've heard of these guys and now they're here.
And I think that was kind of like why I could appreciate. I would be like, all right, I can see why they'd call Batman in.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, rather than just like they're granted not a lot of these people he fights have superpowers, but like they have like the Riddler's got like really weird gimmicks that like is above like the average beat cop's pay grade.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of appreciate how they're just like, there's no gimmick in their crimes. They just are this family.
Yeah,
And I can maybe get how like they don't really like go into it, but it seems like maybe they all have their own specialties.
that's what I assumed based on like their nicknames.
Yeah,
Like
but they
Pretty
never
Boy,
really get into it.
yeah, like Pretty Boy could have been like the face, Mad Dog obviously the wild card, so they're kind of like the bad guy A team.
Yeah. Um,
I assume Machine Gun has a machine gun.
oh yeah, well, there's lots of machine gun. There's lots of guns in this.
Yeah, I won't bring up. I wrote that in my notes. Like, wow, there are like a lot of real guns happening.
Yeah. But anyway, during this robbery, gosh, it's Legs goes up to this like lady and rips her pearl necklace off, and she's just like, hand it over, fat lady.
Yeah,
And the lady is just shrieking, I'm not fat, I'm not fat, over and over again. And it's like, you know, very much a product of its time, but it's just so weird. It's funny. So yeah, the cops, we get a little bit of Ma Beagle or Ma Parker
yeah.
history. And yeah, the cops basically admit that they're useless, which I think is pretty funny.
Hmm.
And they call Batman. Bat phone rings at Wayne Manor. Dick is learning the Greek alphabet.
Yeah.
and like they're talking about how like important of a language Greek is. Um, and for a peek behind the curtain, listeners, we've already watched like the next couple episodes, and this doesn't play in to this story at all, but
Hmm.
just keep it in mind in a couple weeks when you listen to our Clock King episodes.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Batman rushes to police headquarters and he's kind of like blown away by Ma Parker's record. And but he's like, like somebody with a motherly instinct can't be all bad. Which,
I It's pretty naive.
yeah, it goes into this whole like women can't be evil trope that this show is really guilty of perpetuating. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that like all women are evil or anything like that. Like, but this is sexist in its own way. It's just like
yeah.
women are so one-dimensional. They are incapable of evil.
They're poor misguided creatures, as they are often say, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think exactly those lines are said very often.
Yeah, like that is one of the things. Like I do love some of the shows from this era, but like that's one of those things like you have to remember the time that they're in because like that's a little bit outdated. But I do think overall Batman's mostly like in general, like the show, not the character, is mostly pretty harmless in terms of
Yeah,
it's too silly to take that seriously.
it does kind of like make weird commentary from time to time, but
Yeah.
you know, everyone can just you're smart enough to make your own. Well,
I mean, obviously,
I
if you're
shouldn't
deep
say
enough
that.
in, say, if you're deep enough into this podcast, I know we've talked about some of the sensibilities and messages that the series has and how it conflicts or how it collides with stuff from today and like how we know a little bit more how things kind of go now.
Yeah,
But I'm not condemning the show. Just it's from 60 years ago. Like, but it's interesting, especially these two episodes because like I wrote in the my notes like my sexist mother, or like Ma seems to really hate legs and trust her with nothing compared to her brothers.
yeah. Even though like the police in this scene like talk about how Legs is the most dangerous member of the gang.
Yeah.
So Mom Parker kind of shoots herself in the foot by not utilizing that.
She keeps mentioning like girls are stupid. I'm like, you're a female too. Like,
Yeah, unfortunately, that is
yeah. I'm not saying you can't be immune to that. I'm just like it was kind of frustrating. But I still really enjoyed this episode overall.
oh yeah, for sure. So Batman turns to Robin and says, "Let's help an old lady cross the street and into the penitentiary."
There's a lot of awesome lines like that. I'm really excited.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
So, um, we cut to the police who have Ma Parker's hideout surrounded,
Yeah.
and she's kind of serving dinner to the kids, and like she knows the cops are out there, but like doesn't really seem worried. And then they have a little shootout.
Yeah. I
And
wrote, Jesus, this is so violent, even if they are the worst shots in the country.
yeah, they like make this joke like, oh, they're notoriously bad shots. And
Yeah.
that kind of, I feel like, is there for like a production reason. So they don't have to like show bullets hitting anything. Like
Yeah.
that's like one less effect they have to pay for.
But this is like a Waco style standoff,
Yeah.
which in real life, like everyone gets massacred in.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. But
I mean, it's not something we've really seen in the show before, so I appreciate that.
yeah. Um, Batman and Robin arrive, and the cops are like, oh, we can't really get any closer. So Batman and Robin like go to climb into the house, and Ma Parker's aware of this, and she just sits down and starts knitting and lets the dynamic duo come in. And yeah, once the dynamic duo get in, she orders Legs to clear the table while the boys and the dynamic duo have a fight.
Yeah, which is pretty funny because they just don't hit women in the show.
Yeah. Batman and Robin obviously win the fight. They usually do. And Ma Parker starts to like weep, and Batman and Robin bring her outside, and she's crying, and everyone's starting to everyone's starting to feel really sorry for her.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's put on this like little old lady routine and be like, I just want to take care of my kids, blah blah blah. Like
yeah, this is the only way I know how.
yeah,
And then she drops a smoke bomb on them, and the gang makes their escape, with the exception of Pretty Boy, I believe.
yeah. I think they catch Pretty Boy here.
Yeah.
Like he's just running out, and Batman just like straight up tackles him like to the ground.
Yeah, and it seems pretty easy for us, the adult viewer.
Yeah,
And it's kind of confirmed it's a little too easy because even though he's captured, Pretty Boy seems pretty unfazed by that. Next we have a weird scene.
yeah,
It's what, the 43rd episode of this show?
yes,
And Batman is explaining how the Bat computer works to Robin.
yeah. And I know they just need to explain it to the audience, but
But they've
Robin,
used it so many times without this
they
exposition.
use it just about every episode. Like,
Yeah. So I felt that was really weird. Um, so yeah, they figure out that Ma Parker's next target is going to be the Bijou Theater, and yeah, we cut there immediately, and they're robbing the joint. They hijack a car in a pretty funny scene. Like Ma Parker walks up to this random guy in a truck, and she's like, I need a ride. And he basically tells her to go like kick rocks, and then she pulls a machine gun on him, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
you know,
lots of machine guns."
yeah,
Uh,
lots of realistic guns. Yeah,
yeah. Speaking of machine guns, uh, the hijacked car gets away, but machine gun gets left behind.
I keep wanting to call him Machine Gun Kelly, Machine Gun Parker.
Machine Gun Parker. No, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's here that it's revealed to the audience that this is all part of Ma Parker's plan. What were you thinking at this point?
I was like, they must need to do something in prison. I didn't quite suss out what their plan actually like turned out to be, but I was like, yeah, something involves them being caught.
Yeah,
That
I was curious. I was like, oh, what could they possibly stand to gain?
it had the right level of intrigue.
Yeah.
It's interesting and like not incredibly obvious, but they also don't give you like a ton of time to really like dwell on it.
So Batman and Robin like continue their patrol. Have they already figured out they're going to a drugstore?
I don't remember how they figured out they're going to a drugstore, but that's where they catch Mad Dog.
Yeah, well, so before that, they must not know yet because
Yeah,
they're sitting at a red light and Batman just gets out of the car and gives some guy parking his car a bumper sticker
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
that just says lock your car.
yeah,
It's just like definitely like fits this Batman's like vibe.
it's great. He's so square.
Yeah. But also like I don't know, it almost had a public service announcement feel to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, Ma's robbing a drugstore and Batman and Robin show up to foil it, and then Mad Dog gets captured by them, and Ma and Legs get away. Here, Robin's just like, oh, that legs, her legs remind me of Catwoman's.
Oh yeah.
And there's this whole awkward thing about like, oh, Robin, you're growing up.
Yeah, I was like, ooh. How old is Robin supposed to be? He's in high school, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he's like a freshman maybe?
Yeah, even so, I mean,
He would have already like been going through puberty,
yes.
unless they just did it way later in the 60s. It was the style of the time.
True. Who knows? The back computer's stumped about like where to go next. And
Mhm.
I feel like each story has this almost this like I don't know how to put it. It's like this like crazy line of deduction that like I can't ever really follow.
Yeah, it's very like Jeff Goldblum in Independence Day, where it's just like he sees something and it leads him on this path like, oh, I need a computer virus to defeat the aliens. It's like, what?
Yeah. So here they're like the back computer's like stumped, but human ingenuity somehow leads them to figure out that Ma Parker's next target is the Gotham City old folks home.
Yeah.
And they head over there and they're questioning like a nurse or an attendant. I don't know the official title.
An employee there.
Yeah. And they're describing Ma Parker and they have a picture of her, right?
I believe so, yes.
And the employee is just like, "Oh, that looks just like Mrs. Smith." And then she's like, "Oh, there's Mrs. Smith now." And it's Ma Parker in a wheelchair being pushed by legs wearing a like nurse's outfit.
Hmm.
And like legs kind of I feel like almost gives up the goat, you know?
Yeah.
Uh she's like, "Oh, we're captured," and Ma Parker's like, "Oh, come on, you can't make it that easy or obvious."
Yeah. Because they have to put up like some sort of fight.
Yeah. So Batman and Robin, I guess, hear none of that.
Hmm.
And Ma Parker pushes a button on her wheelchair, and these like rocket boosters come out of the back.
Yeah, she's got a rocket powered wheelchair. And I wrote that it looks like something from Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
It's really awesome.
And I guess her plan is to like smash through the wall of this old folks home to get
Yeah,
away.
she just like propels herself into the wall and that's how she's caught.
Yeah, she doesn't break through at all. She doesn't even dent the wall. She
I
just
mean,
like,
she definitely had the element of surprise on her side because I didn't expect that.
yeah, she just hits the wall though and falls over. So both Ma and Legs are captured. So that's the whole dang gang.
Yeah, and only the first half of the episode, like first half of the story.
Yeah. So we cut to the penitentiary and we see someone we haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah, Warden Crichton's there. And like I really appreciate like that they have a consistent warden as well for the prison.
Yeah.
Like it's a real fun little bit of world building. And like we end up interacting with him like or at least he's mentioned more in the series than like I was expecting because like who's in charge of the prison in the comics? I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, I have no
You know what I
idea.
mean? Yeah, like I know who Commissioner Gordon is, in general. Like, a lot of his other characters are like Batman staples, but this guy isn't. Which I feel like if I was writing Batman, there would be like a cameo. Like even if
Oh,
it's just like they mention him offhand.
yeah, heck yeah. So yeah, Warden Crichton's there and
Batman and Robin are there and they're like, oh, we got the whole gang or whatever.
yeah, everything seems good.
One of the like warden or prison like attendees is like asking about the Batmobile. I'm like, oh, can I take a look at the engine? And for some reason they're like, okay.
Well, no, they don't let he doesn't ask.
All right. He just does it.
Yeah, we're not quite at that part yet.
Okay, sorry.
So Batman and Robin assume everything's good. And they leave the room. They're heading towards the Batmobile.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry.
And then that's when Ma reveals that she's slowly been replacing every guard at Gotham Penitentiary with like a member of her gang. And
Yeah,
I
like some
thought
sort of
this,
goon.
yeah, I thought this was like really cool because it just like goes to show how powerful she really is. Like, I kind of get why the cops can't take her down.
Yeah, it's cool. And like she's been eluding like the law in multiple states for presumably a while. They don't say how long she's been in operation, but she's an older woman, so like and her kids are professional criminals, so probably for like their whole lives at least.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's here she reveals that one of the prison's trustees is planning a bomb on the Batmobile.
Yeah, he puts a stick of dynamite in the engine.
Yeah, and well, he's wearing like an outfit that just says trustee living written on the back really big.
But you can't spell trustee without trust.
Yeah.
That's why they trust him.
But yeah, Batman and Robin like show up after he plants the bomb and he's like, "Oh, I was just checking out the engine. I bet this thing could go up to 100 miles an hour, couldn't it?"
Hmm.
And then he's like, Warden Crichton says that it would not go past 60 or something.
He says Warden Crichton like goes 70 like miles an hour on like the back roads here.
Yeah. Yeah. And Batman and Robin drive off and
I think that's when Ma Parker mentions, yeah, when they hit 60 miles an hour, they planted the bomb, it'll go off. Because I
yeah.
know like the cliffhanger showing like the speedometer like creeping up. And
Yeah.
I wrote my notes when this baby hits 60, you'll see some serious shit. So
Yeah, you sure will. You sure
yeah.
will. Yeah, and that's the end of the episode. Batman and Robin race off to their doom.
And they think they've won. They're all behind bars.
Yeah, this is a
Um,
pretty interesting ending.
yeah, it feels like how the real story's gonna begin, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, this was a lot of more fun than I thought it was going to be. And like it's cool to see like the prison be like a setting, not just a place where they're just dropping people off
Yeah.
sometimes.
And just like the promise, like the check it writes, like, oh, all of the like biggest villains are here in this prison. And now like Ma Parker's running the prison.
Yeah, the inmates running the asylum, as it were, except, obviously not the asylum.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah, that's a fun idea. And like, that's not something like the show's even like come close to doing before.
yeah, like this is like, it's like your imagination can go crazy. It's like, oh, who are we gonna see? Like, are any of the supervillains locked up right now? Like,
Hmm. I mean, I'll be honest, like, if this was the comics, I would have thought something like that. But because of the show and like the fact I know they'd have to get like actors and work around their schedules, like, I didn't expect it. I didn't really expect that. But I thought, in theory, like Batman might have to fight through a prison, and like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like it, yeah. Again, your imagination can run wild with like scenarios because it's so different, especially for this Batman.
yeah, exactly. I really liked this episode.
Yeah, I did too.
I guess, yeah, we'll see next week how, Batman and Robin get out of this
Yeah,
pickle. Even though like this cliffhanger kind of sucks.
yeah. I'll get more into that next episode.
All right, well, we'll catch you here next time. Same Batcast time, same Batcast channel.